Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Bandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, section 13. And the topic is the same old topic. How to attain enlightenment. Let me begin with 7 chains of pain. The most highlighted problem in the world is pain. But what causes pain? If you didn't want pain, you shouldn't be embodied. So your embodiment leads you to experience pain. But in order to stop your embodiment, you should stop your karma. Karma leads you to embodiment. Embodiment gives you pain. But in order to stop your karma, not be involved in karma, your mind should not be swayed by raga and dvesha, attachment and hatred. Because the mind is constantly swinging left and right, never straight. If it is straight, you look up to the sky, there's nothing else. But left, there are so many wonderful things. Right, there are so many wonderful. But those wonderful things are not always right. And those things that seem wrong, they are not always wrong. So mind is always, doesn't know where to belong. So, raga, dvesha, attachment, hatred. Why is this situation that one can't simply relax and enjoy whole universal glory? The world doesn't complain. Sky doesn't say, I have a headache. They do all types of things. Clouds, all the trees, they are not complaining. Even the birds and animals, they are all just flowing on with a spontaneity. In spite of facing many challenges, they go on. But with human being, it is not so. Because you are led by ahamkar, ego. So ahamkar is the worst car to be in. I'm joking. Ahamkar means egoism. In Sanskrit, it's called ahamkar. It looks like a car. And what causes the ahamkar to exist? Your inability to distinguish between the real I am and the false layers of your I am. The real I am and the false I am. Sanskrit word is Atma, Anatma. And both have become mixed until your mind has developed discriminative capacity. Not ordinary discrimination, intuitive discrimination, called vivek. The lack of discrimination, the Sanskrit word avivek. And why is this lack of discrimination? The cause is avidya, ignorance. Ultimately, we are scolded, we are ignorant. Put it straight in the whole thing. Ignorance causes a non-discrimination. Inability to be aware of who am I? The I am. I am in every individual is like the sun. But led by ahamkar, ego, just like sun has countless reflections. Now each reflected sun develops an illusion of identity. Let me not go into too much detail, but this is simply want to give you these points. Ignorance gives you non-discrimination. Non-discrimination allows egoism to develop. These are not realities. Led by egoism, your life is constantly shaking. Raga and dvesha. Attack. Things that you love in the morning, in the evening you begin to hate. So raga, dvesha keeps the mind in such a state of turmoil that you do not build up or do not develop a revelation of your source. Your source is so profound. Everyone's source is God, Brahman, the Absolute. I am, that am I. But that source remains obscure. This being so, now there develops a karmic process. The soul begins to develop an illusion about finding purpose of life in the world that is not real. Just like if you go to sleep, it's a little shaky mind. You wanted to go somewhere and to eat some wonderful food, but somehow it didn't. But went to sleep, now in your dream you go there. All that you do in your dream is not reality. All experiences, the idea of finding perfection, absolute happiness in the world, that idea is like finding fulfillment in your dream, which is not possible. So, soul becomes involved in creating karmas, led by ultimately avidya, ignorance. And you cannot exist even for a moment without being involved in karma. If you think that you are not doing any karma, you have created karma for sustaining inertia. Your karma will be always there. If you say, I'm not creating karma, I'm not going to speak anything. In your thoughts, you are creating karma. In your words, you create karmas. Your actions create karmas. Now, soul depends upon karmic result instead of inner revelation. A reflected sun is depending upon the pot, the water, the fishes in it, not the sun. That becomes the predicament of soul in bondage. So let me again repeat to you. Ignorance, non-discrimination, egoism, attachment, hatred, karma, embodiment, pain. This is the outline of pain. Sadhana movement also has a sequence. The highlighted sadhana is to be able to inquire into who am I. But for that, your intellect must not be restricted intellect. Your intellect should be free from narrow-mindedness. It should be free from many illusions. See, that intellect will be interested profoundly in discovering who am I. In fact, if intellect is purified, nothing is more important than to understand the I am. But all are not in that level of inquiry into who am I. So sadhana process in yogic literature begins with very ordinary stage of pranayama. Starts with your nose. You go after your breath. Breath relates to prana, the vital energy, brings about an effect in the form of the function of breathing. The function of breath and oxygen, that's not prana. Prana is that something else. But your breathing process allows the inner vitality to be awakened. That inner vitality is behind the entire universe. There is a prana movement behind everything in the world. Cosmic prana, cosmic energy. And your vital process is a ripple from that cosmic ocean of energy. So when you begin to regulate your breath, you are tapping from the prana. And prana and mind have their close relationship. Mind is in a higher level. If your mind is thinking of positive things, your prana will be automatically in a healthy and harmonious state. Good understanding immediately relaxes your nervous system and begin to discover your inner strength, amazing strength. All that doesn't happen like a miracle, but it happens. So, breath relates to prana. Prana relates to mind. Mind relates to intellect. Intellect relates to cosmic mind, mind of God. And mind of God is nothing but God Himself, Brahman. So, start with your nose. Just as darkness dissolves before the rising sun, so too when the self is revealed, the mind is transcended and destroyed. The term destroying the mind has to be understood in a spiritual way, not literal. The idea is that a mind in itself is not a reality. It's a bundle of desires. And every desire is just like a cloud. Cloud is not a substantial reality, but a lot of humidity has collected together along with dust particles and has become a cloud. And when you begin to bring the ray of light to study the cloud goes on dissolving. The dissolution of the cloud happens in two ways. First way, cloud loses its opacity. Instead of being too dark, becomes a little fleecy and thin. Once it happens, cloud is not obstructing the sun. At this stage, you become enlightened. You are using your mind, but mind is not restricting you. You means the self, operating through the mind without being restricted by the mind. Because Sarupanash is destroyed, but its form exists. But then eventually, even this goes on dissolving as the sun's rays go on passing through the cloud. Cloud is no more. Sun alone exists. That's called arupanash. There is no form of the mind. From beginning to end, your mind is not a reality. We are not talking about ordinary reality. Anything you touch is ordinarily real, yes, because you touch it. But from a spiritual point of view, all this, anything that goes on changing, anything that goes into a process of destruction, all that is perishable is not truth. Truth is unshaken. Same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow are projections of Maya. Truth remains untouched. So by realizing the truth through your mind, again, your bondage, whole story of your bondage and liberation is in and through the mind. But when you attain liberation, as I described, your mind goes through Sarupanash, and finally, completely nothing is there. Nothing means the self alone shines. That's the essential nature of every individual. Call it in different ways. Kingdom of heaven is within thee. I am that am I. Now let me give you another extension to it. We talk about manonash, mind being destroyed. To understand this destruction, we use another terminology, vasana kshaya. Because when we talk of your mind, you are dealing with conscious mind. Conscious mind is called manas. That's a general term for when we talk of mind. But when you talk of your subtle inclinations, they are called vasanas. And most times people don't know their vasanas until the vasanas begin to sprout. And vasana now creates a tremendous role in your life. All your taste, joy and sorrow depends upon your vasana. Vasana colors your vision, positive way or negative way. Subtle impressions that are going to come into your conscious life, closely related to your conscious existence. You are constantly led by your vasana and you are also creating your vasana, both ways. Certain things have given you some special experience and your mind has said, oh, this is what I will hold on to. I've learned a lesson. And sometimes it is more deeper level, negative way, positive way. Negative way, you like drinking, go into a drunken place and you find drinks that you never knew before with such a special name. So you develop vasana. Even though later you forget about it, but your subconscious remembers it and holds it and restricts your progress without your knowing it. So that type of situation called vasana. In a spiritual movement, that vasana is brought into vasana kshaya, the whole series I have described before. Another term is dagdha bij state. Vasanas will exist, but vasanas that are not obstructing your intuitional knowledge, those vasanas are called dagdha bij. Dagdha bij means seeds. There are, say for a very simple illustration, is when you eat popcorns and many popcorns drop down on the floor, on the earth, they won't germinate. But if you are eating some other type of seeds, you eat, seeds fall, and they germinate as well. There are karmas that you are enjoying the fruit of karma, means you are eating it. But while you are enjoying it, you are spilling out other karmas. Those karmas will continue to create their fruit, their product. But in the state of enlightenment, the vasanas go into a state of as if they are scorched, burnt up. You may go on spilling them all over, but they won't do anything. They won't germinate. You will not be brought back into the realm of karma. You are beyond karma. That state of vasana exists when you are enlightened. If you are not enlightened, the vasana will go on, leading you on to create more vasanas and change of vasanas and so forth. But your embodiment will continue. But when the dagdha bij, vasana akshaya, these are the terms, vasana becomes burnt up by enlightenment. And the third state Manonash Vasanakshaya Tattva Gyan. Tattva Gyan, Tattva is the revelation of the truth. Ignorance moves away. So the enlightened state is described in three ways. Manonash, mind that does not allow that enjoys serenity in spite of all the world that you experience. Mind goes on enjoying serenity. Think of the tree. A strong, healthy tree does not stay just straight. It allows itself to be flexible. But it is inflexible in its strength of its root. The root strength does not shake. That is the success in your life. As long as you live, there will be positive, negative. There will be always need for shaking. Allow yourself to be shaken. But that shaking process keeps your personality alive, active, healthy. And if you are shaking with proper understanding, all the rasa goes in towards your heart. Your heart-based strength becomes highlighted. That type of shaking is perfectly in order. If you don't shake, you can't bake. I'm joking. You can't achieve anything substantial. But your root remains unshaken. An aspirant practices spiritual inquiry. He promotes the development of an intuitive mind through which the light of the self removes the veil of ignorance. This point I have worked on many times to understand the function of normal intellect. Intellect that brings knowledge of objects that you don't know of, the scientific laws that you don't know of. Study and you begin to know the Newton's laws, at least that much. I'm joking. But whatever you have to know, your intellect has to work. But that activity of the intellect, if you are satisfied just in that level, you live a life of perspiration. Because there is nothing more can you get. You get a little happiness, but not sufficient. There is more stress involved in gathering the informations, keeping them in your mind, and then with the slightest ailment in your body, losing the memory. So you are learned a scholar, and suddenly your brain has lost capacity. So that's the predicament of intellectual knowledge. But if intellectual knowledge has a purpose, now the intellectual knowledge links itself to promoting intuitional revelation. When that link starts, then your intellectual knowledge doesn't remain empty. It gains a kind of mantra power. It gains a special touch of inspiration. And that enables the sages to help humanity. He is using his intellect. But now his intellect is touched by inspiration, intuition. Therefore, that type of intellectual function coming from sages are totally different from normal intellect comes through academic process. So the intuitive intellect, this negates and dissolves the mind, which was only an effect of ignorance. But led by ignorance, one forgets one's essential nature as Atman. Led by ignorance, everyone is Atman, Satchidananda. Every wave is the ocean. Every reflected sun is the sun. That's the reality. But that, led by ignorance, the soul in a person, as if has forgotten its essential nature. And following the course of his mental desires and cravings, the soul is helplessly dependent upon your mind. And if mind is not purified, mind is constantly creating a big realm of distractions. And those ultimately it ends up with countless desires. And since desires are not fulfilled, they turn to cravings. O Rama, mind and prana are interdependent. When the pranas are controlled, the mind is unable to fluctuate and thus is unable to bring about the projection of the world. In the process of sadhana, one should understand the relation between mind and prana. In other words, if you bring harmony in your body, just don't think of mind and its problems. Think of how can I relax. What yoga has brought about, the terminology of yoga nidra. Practice. Leave your body relaxed. And in order to do that, get into some yoga exercises and pranayams. That will help you when you lie down or simply sit on a chair. Let go everything. This is not possible if you have not practiced some yoga. And that becomes a great art, no matter how many challenging situations you may have. Just like, no matter whatever may be the problem, every day you go to sleep. When you leap into sleep, the whole world moves away from you. It happens so spontaneously, nobody wonders about it. But try to do that with conscious awareness. I'm going to sleep. Mind out. Intellect, no. No ego. I am the universal. I'm blowing like a breeze. I am the illuminer of the world. Jyoti kalash chalke. Sun comes with a jar of light and pours. I am that light behind all that is happening in the world. Ego is not there, so all this saying doesn't upset anyone. If ego is there, it makes you a slap. You miserable one. All these lies. I'm joking, trying to understand. So, how important it is, prana, harmonized prana, how much it helped your mind. And in that movement, mind itself begins to dissolve. But then you go into further study of prana, apana, dhyana, samana, udana, and their functions. All that Hatha Yoga will give you the details. But every function in your life is based on prana. One type of prana assimilates your food. Another type of prana allows you to enter into dream. And also when you transit from one body, when you depart from the body, there is another aspect of prana that operates, udana. And all those is a fascinating topic, not just topic, it's something important for sadhana. As you practice Kundalini Yoga, you go on learning. But they are automatic. So you don't have to also worry, I don't know all those things, what will happen to my sadhana? It's not of that time. So many things are happening and you are in order, but when you start studying them, you begin to know them and it just adds to your sadhana. But if you didn't know them, doesn't matter. If you are on a higher level doing devotional movement, all that is happening automatically. Mind and prana are interdependent. When the pranas are controlled, the mind is unable to fluctuate and thus is unable to bring about the projection of the world, implying the mind will not promote anger, hate, greed, and so forth. The mind is associated with the process of knowing as well as the process of fluctuation. Process of knowing means pranas become completely harmonized and it allows your knowledge to blossom. Otherwise, pranas take you into a state of distraction. You don't know where your head is and how many heads do you have. Knowing process called Vedan. Pranic function is called Spandan. These are terminologies. Both are brought under control. Pranas harmonized. And your knowing process, instead of being just superficial theoretical knowledge, It becomes a profound knowledge based on experience. Prana is controlled by vairagya. Raga and dvesha, they dissipate your energy. Prana is vital energy within, and if you become, let me dramatize it, if you are attached, raga, then the mind is going after where my dear one has gone. 5 hours have passed, I have not received any message. Has the plane collapsed? If the plane has collapsed, what a misery I am waiting for. So, now the mind has created karma of negativity for no reason. And even while all this is going on, the phone comes in. Not only phone, you can see the face. Now your mind builds up in another way. That this loved one is going to have a wonderful time. How many wonderful things is going to bring for me? So your energy has gone in two directions without being involved in a purposeful manner, in a purposeless way. So that vital energy needs to be controlled. When raga, dvesha, in brief, when you develop vairagya, your pranic energy is not being dissipated. When you know the things and they are worth, and if they are not worth you to consume them. Think of very ordinary illustration. Sweet things are always desirable, but when you are diabetic and you understand they are harmful for you, even though you can be in a shop with all sweet things, your eyes will not go after them. So what helped you? Vairagya. You come to realize they are not good for me. Similarly, when you see, eat, drink, be merry, the world is going after. Look at it. It's not good for me. Vairagya. As Vairagya has developed, lot of your pranic distractions have stopped. Otherwise, you are constantly scratching your head, worried, going after securing things that cannot be secured, trying to know what others are thinking, which can't be done. But develop vairagya. What is worth going after? Japa, turning to Godward movement, allowing your mental energy to go into satsanga, learning certain elevating things, allowing your energy to be utilized in righteous deeds, activities that allow your heart to become much more generous, your feeling more tender, and your mind more joyous. So all that becomes possible when you have internal vairagya. Along with vairagya, develop vivek, discriminative intellect. Prana is controlled by vairagya as well as by the practice of pranayam, as it is outlined in Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga, and by the practice of samadhi. Samadhi is the profoundest level where mind becomes so quiet that you experience superconscious state in different stages. And that, if that experience begins to come, your sadhana has come to a climax. And the climax of samadhi movement brings about absolute revelation. I am that am I. But samadhi term again is confusing for the masses. They always conjecture in their mind, when you practice meditation, your body has to be quiet. Yes, in the beginning, your body has to be quiet, your mind must be quiet. But this is the early kindergarten level. Maturer level, even though your body is busy, attending to various things, and rather the things you are attending to are allowing your mind to be more quiet. So you are coming to higher another. This doesn't mean that you give up your meditation practice. But certain practices must be continued. They become like your table and chair. And advanced practices must develop that they are not confined to your ritual level. So whether you keep your body in static or not doesn't matter. For popular understanding of samadhi, one has gone into a trance and stays in one position for hours and maybe days. What is samadhi? But that is not real. Because the scriptures also say that someone stayed in samadhi for years and comes out just with some psychic powers, but nothing more. What I'm leading you to understand is the mature aspect of samadhi comes in normal life. If you have become integrated in your personality, sometimes the moments of samadhi enter. Neither you are aware of the past nor of the future, and the mind is inspired. It's a touch of samadhi. If you go on growing maturely, that internal awareness will not go away from you. So you are always in sahaja samadhi. Spontaneous, you are not working for it. That is what leads one to highest level. That's what leads one to become liberated. O Rama, do not sustain any desire within yourself. Always understand that if your happiness depends upon fulfilling your desire, that is a going after illusion, because learn lessons from the past. Desire and its fulfillment is not a new thing being introduced in your life. Through countless births you have been after your desires, and you have gone on fulfilling them, and still you remain a fool. come to that level, that all that is attained by your desires, they are superficial. They are like waves. The real you is the ocean. So, you can maintain desires, like I have already said, a Jivan Mukta, a liberated sage, maintains his body, maintains his functions, he does actions, he has desires, but only thing, they do not create new embodiment. In other words, you see the drama of desire. Desire comes, is fulfilled. When desire came, it doesn't matter. Fulfilled, it doesn't matter. You are not getting the sky. It remains fulfilled. It can desire, let the clouds come. And clouds come, they dance, and sometimes undesirable things happen. But the sky is unaffected by positive, negative. The entire mental process and all what the mind brings are viewed by your inner awareness, which is like the sky. When you have that type of awareness, the sky like I am, then you are really caught your sleep even in your daily life. Catch the sleep in your daily life without sleeping. That's Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It is ignorance that leads people to be tormented by the mind, as well as to fight with it in order to destroy it. But being inert and of the nature of not self, the mind is already dead. Mind doesn't have a reality. Think of your dream. In your dream, you have a mind. That mind is different from your normal mind. But the entire mind process of your dream, when you wake up, what happens to that mind? In dream, your mind was looking for a wonderful fruit. And it led you to gather the fruit. You woke up, the fruit is not there. And the mind that was so eager to get those fruit, that mind is also not there. Similarly, the mind you are possessing is illusion. In order to control your dream mind, what did you do? Wake up. In order to control your mind, what should you do? Enlighten. You don't have to fight with your mind. Just as it is ridiculous to say that the head of a person has been smashed by the soft petals of a lotus, or that one must fight a severe battle to kill one who is already dead. This is the project with controlling the mind. It is even more ridiculous to believe that a person has been afflicted by a non-existent mind. Person is your soul, the I am. That I am has never been afflicted. You bring color glasses and look at the sun. Change the glass And the whole sun that was looking in one way now looks in another way, totally different. And suddenly you forget you are changing the glass and begin to cry. What has happened to the sun? Just like your glasses can't change the sun. Your minds can't change the reality. No matter how your mind may operate, the real I am unchanged. And it's not the mind that is creating the I am. And when I am is revealed, that mind has no reality. When you are aware of the sun, you don't go after looking for glasses. I have to have glass to see the sun. Misunderstanding is remedied by understanding. It is a great wonder how people are being driven to misery by their illusory minds. For a spiritual aspirant who has gained insight into the illusoriness of the mind, the task of mastering it becomes effortless and simple. The more you understand it, the task becomes simpler. It's a matter of relaxing. Otherwise, started studying. Where was my mind? How many things it did wrong? And you collect all these, send to Google to store it. O Rama, behold the marvels of the mind. Although non-existent, yet it has projected the world in which it finds itself entangled and bound. Look at dream, doesn't have to work hard. It conceives of fear, even in the melodious music arising from the strings of a veena. It is frightened at the sight of a person in deep sleep, devoid of inward patience and dominated by the frightened mind. An ignorant person continues to experience fear and misery at every step of his life. Therefore, O Rama, do not be deluded by the mind that is in reality non-existent. Discover its illusoriness, regain your essential nature as the self, and become free from the bondage of the world process. And with this particular volume 2 of our publication completes. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashtudukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramaya Namah. Hari Om.